Okay, so today we're looking at the quadratic formula, and you've already looked at this a little bit, so hopefully most of this is a review. All right, so the quadratic formula, let's start with a problem. It's when we're solving a quadratic, we're finding the zeros. It means the same thing. So the first problem I gave you is x squared minus 8x equals 20. Well, first thing you do is you must set equal to 0. So it has to equal 0 to start with. So x squared minus 8x minus 20 equals 0, because we're finding the zeros, or the roots, or the solutions. Now the quadratic formula, if you don't have it written down, write it down. Oop, I don't know what that was. We're just going to let that go. Is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Oh boy. 4ac, the whole thing divided by 2a. And I told you before that I find the middle, or the discriminant, first. This is the hardest part, and it tells me some stuff. So I always find this first. So let's try this problem. So I start with the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. The opposite, or b is negative 8, so I put in negative 8 squared minus 4 times a, which is a 1. That should be a 1 there, times c, which is negative 20. This gives me 64, and then I have 4 times 1 times negative 20, so it's actually plus, because it's a negative and a negative, 80, which equals 144. So because this is a positive number, I know I'm going to get two answers. So I have two solutions. Two zeros, however you want to say that, because that's a positive number. Okay, so now I go back up to my formula right here. X equals, the opposite of v would be positive 8 plus or minus the square root of 144 divided by 2 times a, which is 1. So I have x equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 144 is 12 over 2. And remember, I'm going to get two answers. So I get 8 plus 12 divided by 2. 8 plus 12 is 20, divided by 2 is 10. And then I get 8 minus 12 divided by 2. So 8 minus 12 is negative 4, divided by 2 is negative 2. So these are my two answers, my two zeros, my two solutions, however you want to solve it. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try 21x squared plus 5x minus 7 equals 0. So again, the formula is negative b, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Now I'm going to do the discriminant first, or the inside. So the discriminant first. So I'm going to do b squared minus 4ac. So b is 5, so I'm going to get 5 squared minus 4 times 21 times negative 7. And it looks like I'm going to need a calculator, so let's get that out. So I'm going to do this. 4 times 21 times 7 is 588. Okay, so I get 5 squared, so 25, and a minus and a negative become a plus 588. Let's do that again. 4 times 21 times 7 is 588. All right, I'll go with it. All right, so then I need to add those together. So 588 plus 25 is 613. So that's my discriminant. It's positive, so it means I'm going to have two zeros, two answers, because it's positive. So then I come back up here. I say x equals the opposite of b, so the opposite of 5, so I get negative 5, plus or minus the square root of 613, all over 2 times a, which is 21, because a is 21. So x equals -5. Now I'm going to use my calculator and approximate. So I'm going to take the square root of 613. So the square root is 24 point, I'm going to say 8. So plus or minus 24.8 all over 2 times 21 is 42. So there's lots of calculator work in this one. All right, so my next step is actually to find my two answers. So I have -5 plus 24.8 divided by 42. And then I also have -5 minus 24.8 divided by 42. So I'll get out my calculator. I'll move it over so you can see. I'm going to clear. I don't know how to clear. I'm going to figure that out. There we go. So I have -5 negative plus 24.8. Oh, I did something wrong there. 0.8 is divided by 42. And I get 0.5 for this answer. There's one of my zeros. And my next answer, we'll delete everything, clear. I'm going to get 5 negative minus 24.8 equals divided by 42 is negative 0.7. So negative 0.7. Those are my two answers. Now they would not have been fun to graph, but those are my two answers. Okay, so when do you not get two answers? Let me show you an example. So I'm going to show you where you don't get two answers. So let's say we have x squared plus 3x plus 7 equals 0. So my formula, quadratic formula, is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now remember, I always talk about this discriminant because it really tells us a lot, and that's why I use it, is b squared minus 4ac. Oh my gosh. Minus 4ac. So b here would be 3, so I'd get 9 minus 4 times a is 1 times 7. 9 minus 28 would give us like negative 19. It's a negative number. And that one gives us no solution or no real answers. Because it doesn't work, it doesn't go through the x-intercept. So when I graph this one, if this was my graph, this parabola would be like up here. That's what that means. If you get a negative discriminant, it doesn't work because I can't take the square root of it. It just doesn't work. So that's one that would give me no real answers or no solutions, no zeros. If you get a negative discriminant, it means my graph is up here and it doesn't cross where I want it to. So that gives me no real answers. Now here's an example of one that would give me one answer. I think, we'll see. So once again, my formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So my discriminant then would be b squared minus 4 times a times c. So 36, 6 squared, minus 4 times 1 times c is 9. 36 minus 36 gives me 0. When the discriminant is 0, I just get one answer. And let me show you why. If I put this in, I get x equals the opposite of b, so negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 0 all over 2 times 1. Well, negative 6 plus 0 divided by 2, and negative 6 minus 0 divided by 2, because that's what I do, I get my two answers. They equal the same thing. They're both negative 3. So I only get one answer. So when your discriminant is 0, you get one answer. All right, what you need to do is get the paper from the substitute teacher, and then I want you to complete that paper and turn it in. Help each other if you need to. Have a good day. I will see you Monday.